Wednesday, December 13th is the meeting of the Conservation Commission meeting. And we have at 7 o'clock, a notice of intent for 12 Stoddard Street. And Mary, do you have the reading for that?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act that the Upton Conservation Commission will hold the following public hearing on Wednesday, December 13th, 2023 at 7 p.m. A notice of intent filed by Lorville Santos for the replacement of a failed cesspool with a Title V septic system. Map 15, parcel 139. All parties invited to participate.
Excellent. And Laurel, do you have an engineer with you, or you're here by yourself?
Dan McIntyre here representing Lorville.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Can I share my screen? I can bring up the plan.
Yeah, I think you should be able to.
Yep, there it is. Okay. So for the record, this is Dan McIntyre representing the homeowner at 12 Stoddard
Street.
Everybody can see this plan here?
Yes.
All right. So just to orientate you, we've got across the top of the screen is Stoddard Street at the intersection of High Street over on the left-hand side. It's a corner lot. The existing home has been there since the 1800s. It's in state of disrepair right now. It's been abandoned for a little bit. The current owner is trying to fix it up. We've got a paved driveway here coming to an existing garage. The existing cesspool is located over on the right-hand side of the house, right over in here. We had the wetlands delineated by Goddard Consulting. And the wetlands are associated with an intermittent stream here that runs through a culvert underneath Stoddard Street down along this property line. And another intermittent stream through a culvert under High Street along the back property line. So there's wetlands associated with both of those streams on this side of the house, behind the house, and over on the left-hand side of the house. Mary went out and took a look at the site and had some questions on the initial delineation. Goddard went back out there and took a look at the area on the left-hand side and expanded the wetlands based on soils and vegetation. Part of the property over here was kind of disturbed. Lorville kind of unintentionally went over here and is kind of exuberance to get working on the house and disturb some of the property over here. The town noticed that, stopped him, and he went in and did his best to restore it. And then we were hired to design a septic system and do the proper filing for the wetlands. So we went out with the Board of Health and did soil testing. We initially started over here. We did 3 test pits. We really found no soil or insufficient soils to put a septic system over here. Very, very poor soils in this area. We moved over to this area here, and it was a nice gravelly soil over here, which I assume that's why they put the original cesspool over here. So we were able to design a septic system in here. It does have a high groundwater table, obviously, because of the wetlands. We're raising this area up, building a retaining wall along the 3 sides of it here to contain the septic system. We're putting in erosion controls along the perimeter of the work area here, as well as over here. We think that because of limited space requirements here, we think we're going to need a little bit over here by the driveway for temporary stockpiling. So we put some erosion controls in here. with respect to the work, I think the probably the most difficult thing with respect to the wetlands is the initial construction of this retaining wall. This will go in first. Then this area will be filled with the septic gravel and the septic system will be constructed. We are proposing about 55 square feet of wetland disturbance, which is this little area right here. And that comes into play because we're, in order to build this wall, we need about 10 feet of area on the downslope side of the wall to actually build it. And that's where that disturbance comes into play. When it's all said and done, that area will be restored, as well as all of this area in the buffer zone at the base of the wall. We're proposing to seed that with a conservation mix. And once all is said and done, we really expect the wetland probably to grow further and go right up to the base of the wall. So there'd probably be, at the end of the day, there'll probably be a large increase in the wetland area here.
Yes.
On the other side, where it was previously disturbed, we are proposing to install some large boulders through here to prevent future inadvertently encroachment into this area here. And then to do a little more restoration of the buffer zone. Laurelville already went in and planted some trees down and bushes down here. We're proposing to supplement some more up in this area here. Grade out some of the tire ruts and put in a conservation mix here to let this grow back in. So I think with that, I could probably turn it over to questions for the commissioners.
One question I have is, do you have a DEP number?
No, not yet. I just checked earlier tonight. The property, the filing has been received and is up on their database, but they have not assigned a number to it yet. I sent an email to Judith up at the Central District to see where that is, but it has not been issued yet.
And did you get your green cards back from the abutters?
Yes, we have, and those were submitted to Mary.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else on the commission have other questions? Or Mary, what are your questions?
I had questions about access for the work. Are you going to access the for the work on the subdivision? Are you going to have to break down some of that retaining wall that runs along the road? I'm hoping that all the access will be from that side and there won't be any going around the back.
Mary,
That's true. We don't propose to do any access behind the garage. There's a existing stone retaining wall along the house here and along Stoddard Street. We don't need to disturb the wall along Stoddard Street, but in this area here in the front of the house, those stones will come out. This will be our construction access here. And I did mention it earlier that we're raising this up. So when it's all said and done, this wall is not really needed anymore. It's going to be kind of level right across here. So to answer your question, this is our access here. There'll be no need to go back here except for the restoration plantings.
Okay.
and then
Yes.
we to build the wall, we would go behind the garage. To build the wall, we would need access over there, Mary.
Do you think so?
Yes, because the ramp that we're gonna do for the SEP guys to use, it would be too steep to go down with the large blocks. Then like the area, Mary, that I rest that I put the grass, we would need to use that area again.
Okay, so you think you are gonna have to go back there?
Yes, but minimize, because I'm gonna use a track, a skid steer that doesn't harm too much the area. Doesn't make like a tire would damage the area. The disturbance would be minimized by the track machine.
Okay.
But I would need to use that area to distribute the wall.
All right, so yeah, so we have an existing set of erosion controls
Yes.
that is, I asked him to set up, and this was before we knew the wetland delineation.
Yeah.
And so some of the erosion controls go through the wetland right now. So it seems like if you're gonna be accessing this lower retaining wall back here, we'll need to move the erosion controls.
No, Mary. They should be fine where they are. To tell you the truth, Mary, once I'm done, like Dan McIntyre brought it up, the wetland area is going to be increased than the existing, what it is now. Because
But
after the
no,
wall is
we've
built,
gotta-
nobody's gonna go back there.
We've got to do something. We've got to open this. If you want to come in this way, we've got to open this up and extend the erosion controls in this direction. And try to protect this as well.
Then, but I already have erosion control all the way around, and I can access without harm. Like it's the erosion control that I have now, Mary, is more than enough for me to go through and
But so-
because I have erosion control then all the way from the.
But no, it's on this dark line here is your existing erosion controls that are up.
Yes.
But some of it is inside the wetlands. The wetlands are actually out in here. So they're not being protected by anything. So if you wanted to drive a track machine through here,
Yeah.
I think we'd need to set something up in here.
I'll move my erosion control closer.
Right, that's what we'd have to do.
Yeah.
This is Mike from the commission. I got a couple questions.
Hi, Mike.
Just what we were talking about, that access around the back. How's that area vegetated? Are you need to cut down trees to go
No.
through there? Or
No.
is it just how is it vegetated?
It's over there now is the grass that Mary has seen it.
Okay.
I put that wetland mix, and the grass took over really well.
Could you put the plan back up, please?
I think Mary's gonna show us some
Oh.
pictures.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, so this is behind the wall. And this is that area, but since I took this picture, the flags have been moved, so the wetland actually extends up into here. So it is a narrow access point right here. And that was kind of my concern. And this area it's low and close to the wetland. So we'll put the plans back up.
Oh, no, okay, thank you. Well, that picture helps a lot. Thank you. Okay, next question I had is the existing erosion controls. You know, the controls that are actually in the wetlands right now, those probably where they're not needed, probably really everywhere, almost, they should be removed,
Okay.
I would think, right? And then just whatever erosion controls are shown on the final plan, you know, those should be the erosion controls on the site. You might be able to reuse
Yes.
the
So they
setbacks.
fairly new.
Yeah.
So what our intent was, you kind of see down here, anything on the right-hand side.
Oh,
going
okay.
through that well, we're gonna remove
Okay.
and then maintain these in their location.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see the note. Okay, then the last comment I have is the row of boulders, actually one is a question, is how, maybe someplace on the plan indicate the size of those boulders?
I don't
you know,
think so, but
Well, you probably want to do that somewhere on the plan. I mean, so
Yeah.
you don't want 1 foot, 1 foot diameter boulders there. You want something more substantial.
exactly. Okay.
And then also relative to that line of boulders, it would be great if you could see where DTH number 3 is. That just that symbol, DTH number 3.
Yep.
Yeah. I would just go basically straight up and meet the existing stone wall there. Just cut that cut that area right off. So you go from DTH number 3, relocate the boulders to right above the 00, the 90.00. Then they tie in with the existing stone wall. Is that something you think you could do?
Yeah, I don't think that's an issue at all.
Okay, that's all I have, at least at the moment.
Any other questions from the commission?
I was wondering if the commission wanted bounds instead of the boulders, although the boulders are probably fine.
I'm okay with the boulders as long as they're large enough and they're shown on the plan on the and mentioned in the order conditions. So.
I'm okay with boulders too. It's fine.
Me too.
Did we do, I had mentioned to the engineer that maybe on top of the retaining wall near the septic, we could put like 1 or 2 of our placards, and maybe we can put a placard on one of the boulders too, so people know, what the line is for. Or maybe that won't work, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good idea to me, Mary. You could even put a placard on every, 5th or 10th boulder or something like that, along the line.
No. What were the types of plants that were put in?
Was the cherries and a maple, red maple, some azaleas,
Excellent.
2 hollies, and the rhododendrons, they were already there.
Okay,
I
thank
just cleaned. Yes.
Okay, more of a procedural question or comment that there's not a DEP number, so we cannot close this hearing. We need to continue it. And maybe the plans could be revised for the next meeting.
I just had some, a few more comments that I had. As you guys may remember, there was a disturbance here before, we received this filing. A lot of vegetation was removed in the wetland near where the proposed septic is. A lot of vegetation was removed. There wasn't so much earth disturbance there. And as Dan noted, there was earth disturbance on the other side where that smaller bit of wetland juts out into the yard. And so I was kind of thinking about on the wetland near the septic, there is definitely still some, ferns and skunk cabbage that you can see that was not removed. Just kind of wondering how the commission wants to approach like any restoration. It seems like on the wetland near the septic that you could kind of let it go and see what happens and hope that, it revegetates itself. He is planting replacement trees and stuff from the trees that were cut down. And on this other side, again, it was more disturbed. It's been seeded, I think, with just regular grass seed, and that grass is coming in pretty well. But there's also skunk cabbage on that side. So just however the commission wants to approach any kind of restoration, or maybe we can have some conditions to have the plantings next spring and, give 2 years on watching how the wetland recovers, something like that.
So, Mary, on the to the left of the proposed boulder barrier, that area, how was that vegetated before it was disturbed?
Actually, that particular portion, I believe, was the nicest lawn that was on the property, I believe. That was more of lawn. And then the area that was disturbed near where the septic, that was kind of overgrown with bittersweet and obviously wetland vegetation too.
Yeah.
Laurel, was the other side near High Street, was that lawn, maintained as lawn?
Mary, it was like a lot of bittersweet that
Okay,
fine with the red roots, and then there was some rhododendrons which I kept them. That skinny rhododendron that is there, they
Yep.
exist. They were already there, and was some forsythias as well, which they gonna come back because we just we can see the stumps, the roots of them is still there, and but the bittersweet, I pulled them up as much as I could.
Yeah, there was a lot of bittersweet on the site.
Yes. And there I put a nice cherry tree over there, and a maple, a red maple, on the area that closest to the where I put the white fence, Mary.
Yeah, the tree, Laurel's already planted some trees and they look good.
And there was some dead trees over there because the bittersweet climb on them and I think choke them.
Well, removing the bittersweet is a great idea.
Yeah, they're very tough plants.
Right.
Are there any trees that are going to be cut down to construct a new system?
It was a tree, not acorn. Was they look like a walnut tree? The fake walnut. I forgot the name. The one that was like in the middle of the septic. That one was cut down.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Mike, all the vegetation's been removed
Okay.
all the way up to the road.
Okay. And it's now off-site.
Laurel, what happened to all the debris? I think it's mostly gone. No.
All gone. Yes,
Okay.
I took. Mary, all the stump grinding stuff. I took everything out of there, Mary.
Okay.
No, like, no debris, no branch, no nothing.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
So, Mary, do you need our input as far as restoration?
If anyone has any comments or on that, otherwise I think that was kind of my approach, just to maybe give it 2 years of monitoring, but not require any work in the wetlands unless we see that it needs something.
And Mary, on a High Street side, remember I told you I'm gonna put more like red maples to create a buffer between the road and on the
Yes,
High Street side. Remember
that will be perfect. And there's some plantings that your engineer put on the plan that you'll be required to do as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Laurel, you want to put something along a line of red maples here?
Yes, to create a
Okay.
buffer. Then.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about like 3 to 5 trees. I think I'm gonna put them a little closer, Mary. Remember, you say that they might be too close to each other. I want to put like 5 then.
You can have them like a hedge, red maple hedge that. will
Kinda,
work as
kinda
well.
like, yes. Yeah, that's
Yep.
what I was thinking, Mary. Kinda. Not that close, but
Okay. So I can, I agree with Mary. I think we just kind of take a wait and see attitude to see how the wetlands recover. I think based on how wet it is in the soils, I think it'll recover on its own pretty well.
yeah, I think so too then.
But while we wait for the DEP file number, hopefully it'll come in for your next meeting. I can, adjust the erosion controls down here for his access. We'll change the boulders and add the red maples.
Yeah, add 5 then.
Okay.
And Laravel, just a quick question about the addition portion of this project.
Yes,
Are you using sonotube foundation or is it a full foundation?
a full foundation there.
Okay.
For a 4-foot foundation.
Yeah.
The Christ.
So, yeah, I think it would be good to maintain erosion controls either below the stone wall or have some right on
Yes,
top.
yes.
Put something up in here.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Does.
Next meeting is January 10th.
Are we doing December 27, Chris?
Yes, December 27th.
Yeah.
So Mary, I cannot build the wall yet, right?
Right, you have to
What-
wait until you're finally approved and yeah, so it'll be after the next meeting and then I have to issue the order and then you have to wait 10 days for the appeal period. So probably another month.
Okay.
So Mary's right, it's December 27th is our next meeting.
Okay.
So we need to add time.
Keep them, actually I put, how about 7:30?
Yes.
Okay,
It works for Dan.
Sure.
But you can do some work during the appeal period, but it's totally at your own risk. I mean, I don't know what your schedule is like here, but just for example, maybe install the erosion controls in.
Yes.
Sooner rather later, but anyway, it's at your risk. I don't know if there's been any abutters shown interest in this work or not, but
They are pretty friendly.
so, but like I said, it's at that 10-day appeal period is at your own risk.
Okay.
Hmm.
Hey Mary,
Yes?
do you think you can release the building permit for the addition so I could start on the addition part?
It's all connected. I guess that would be up to the board. I mean, the addition is part of this application as well.
But it's kind of far away from the.
This is all very disturbed up in here, so as long as we get some erosion controls in here,
Which can be done tomorrow.
yeah, I don't see any impact of that, but
I really need to start that
Uh,
if possible. Of course, if the board agrees. Maybe someone can vote to say something.
Are you concerned about cold weather coming?
Yes,
Mm.
and timing as well.
there need to be erosion controls around that area.
Mhm.
Yeah, above the wall, closest to the house, like, which is I can be done.
Right from the garage, right along here, you could put
Yes.
something up, Lorville.
Yes, then I can send pictures to you and Mary tomorrow. Around 10, we'll be done.
They
yeah,
wanna Any concerns about that?
Mary?
What do you think, Mary?
I think with the existing retaining wall there, that's probably fine. So as long as you guys are comfortable with it, that's,
Does anyone have a concern with?
Where is the addition, right? The dotted line around the house
It's
there,
this
those
Yeah.
hatched
hashtags?
area right here.
Yes.
I don't see any problem with that,
Thank you.
but I'm just one member, so.
Yes.
We take a vote.
Or just a consensus, I'll go next. I'm okay with it too.
Chris?
Thank you.
This is Dave. I'm okay with it as well.
Thank you, Dave.
So you have Sandy, Mike, Chris, and David. So it looks like you have a consensus to go right ahead.
And Mary would say yes too, Mary, because I don't.
the board makes the decision. I'm the agent.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought okay. Oh, thank you.
She doesn't
They're not around, I'll tell you what to do.
Okay.
Okay, so otherwise we have you can continue until December 27th at 7:30. And hopefully we'll get the DEP number by then.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, you're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Good holiday.
You too.
Thank you. Okay, so now we have at 7:20, we have a request for certificate of compliance. Fuller Street Bridge, DP number 311-0745. Continue from November 22nd.
All right, well, if you guys remember, we had talked about this at our last meeting, and they have completed the work. I reviewed the plantings and everything looked really good. I did have some concerns. There was a few invasive species in some of the replication areas or in the restoration areas. However, the conditions themselves had there was nothing, no real tight description on what success of the replication areas was. And it said nothing about invasive species. So I think the commission was hoping that the consulting firm would maybe pull those out, but they thought it was not part of that. They felt that they were in compliance with the order, and I would agree that they're in compliance with the order as written. And so we do have a representative from the consultant group, Jonathan Nero from Beta Group. If you had questions about the report they submitted, and also Dennis is here to talk about a proposal that he's happy to pull out invasives. So that's just this is an update from last time.
Okay, Dennis or Jonathan, whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first. Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome.
Yes, so I didn't realize that we had some invasives that had encroached on our replication that we had done for the Fowler Street Bridge. So this project is complete, and our contract with Beta is also complete. And I have asked Beta to send a representative, and Jonathan is here to answer any questions to the commission regarding the invasives that have been identified within the replication area. So my only goal here tonight is to say that this is not something that is identified in the original order of conditions or part of Beta's plans. I've asked Beta to be here to answer any questions that the commission may have. However, Now that we have identified this, obviously we need to do something about it. So from the public works standpoint, I am eager to work with the commission to come up with remediation and to fix this problem. However, at this point, I think I will turn it over to Jonathan to discuss what actually is there and how we can correct the problem. Jonathan, if you don't mind.
Sure, Dennis, thank you. Jonathan Nero, project scientist with Beta Group. So as you folks saw in the memorandum we prepared for the monitoring of these areas, between the wetland replication area and the handful of restoration areas, we had significant success, not just with proposed plantings, but also with what we refer to as volunteer species. So several native species in the area, propagated naturally, reestablished themselves, and all of those are perennials, so they'll come back year after year. All the areas are vegetated in excess of 75% with native cover. However, there were a handful of, I would note some non-native species such as bitter dock that are not considered invasive, but there are some invasive species out there, including glossy buckthorn, multiflora rose, and mugwort. So, when it comes to, I guess two things I want to say. One is that it is expected to some degree to get these types of vegetation within restoration areas, especially given we're working in a disturbed roadside. There's just really no way to prevent it. And the few that have appeared, in our opinion, haven't hampered the success of these replication and restoration areas. I would say, though, if the town is looking to remove invasives, which is a great thing to undertake, in this area, I think it's limited enough as to where mechanical removal may be enough, and that can be I know some of these root systems are tough, but you can there's only a handful of buckthorn based on our inventory. Those could just be dug out, and the mugwort, when it comes up in the spring before it grows throughout the year and goes to seed, that could also be ripped out by its roots. Same with the multiflora rose. So I think in this application, I certainly wouldn't start with going to town with herbicide and things like that. I think some selective removal could be beneficial, and then that lets the native vegetation in the area further take over.
Mary, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that was my impression. The invasive species I saw out there were small and certainly seemed like most of them could be dug out with a shovel or pulled. So I think that's a good approach.
Any questions or comments from the commission?
Yes, Mike, from what I've heard, I agree, mechanical removal sounds great. But I have kind of a generic question for Dennis. Does the DPW have a licensed applicator on staff? Not for this project, but it's a generic question.
We do. We actually have two.
So maybe something to think about in the future if we run into a problem. We could maybe ask for some help. Okay, thank you. That's it.
Through the chair. So for this particular application, I'm hoping to be able to close this out for Fowler Bridge and for our contract with Beta, because it's part of their obligation. But I'm also hoping to be able to take up this newly developed issue, and maybe through maybe through Mary, and with assistance and oversight of the DPW, we can mitigate these issues quickly.
Yes, I think the board can consider issuing the certificate of compliance tonight. That's what you're hoping for, right, Dennis? And then,
I am. Yeah.
And then, we can think about a schedule, probably in the spring, going after early spring, maybe March, going after those invasives, unless it's warm enough now, I don't know.
Just to chime in, I think you folks will probably have better luck in the spring. I think ground's starting to get pretty hard out there. I know my gardening has been put to an end for the year, so.
Well, we can put that on the list of things to do in the spring. Any other comments or thoughts from the commission? Okay,
Well,
let's,
I'd like to make a motion to issue an order of a certificate of compliance for this project. I don't remember what the number is, but whatever, 311, whatever.
Second,
let's do a voice vote. Chris, I.
I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Mike, aye.
Sandy, I. Sorry.
That's the unanimous vote of the members present. So we'll look at having Mary issue the certificate of compliance for 311-0745. We'll put it on the list of things to do in the spring to get the invasives out. So are we all set, Dennis and Jonathan?
Thank you very much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you all.
I
Have a good
appreciate
night.
it. You too, thank you. Okay, now Mary, did you say that our 730, 343 Mendon Street was not able to attend?
That's right. He is not able to attend.
Should we put that onto our next agenda for this 27th?
Yes.
Okay. What time would you like?
Maybe we can do him at 7:45.
Okay. Okay, well, it's good that you let us know.
Yeah, I did do a site visit with him. Things look better there,
Okay.
but it's still not done.
Okay, so it's still a work in progress.
Yes.
Yeah. We have a little bit of time before our 8 o'clock. So, how about if we look at
Excuse
the,
me. Sorry, I just stepped out. Is this for Silver Spring?
that,
That will be at 8:15.
Oh, okay, sorry. I just thought I maybe missed
that's
it.
fine. Okay, we won't forget about you. Okay, so how about our administrator's report?
All right. Let's see if I can pull it up. I apologize, I'm having trouble with my husband's computer. So I have to download it, which take a second
No problem.
in order to show it. But while we're waiting for that to download, it has been quite busy. I'll just mention a few things. I went out to 1 Cranberry Court. Because a resident was calling about a tree, and the tree, they thought it was in the conservation area, but it does not appear to be. It is in the woods. So Cranberry Court is part of Rockwood Meadows. The tree is extremely close, I would say 20 feet away from their condo. It's a huge white pine. And so I did give them permission to pull it down if they get permission from the homeowners association, because I imagine they have to go through that. So.
Mary, question about that. Could we ask them to leave the most of the tree like in the conservation restricted area? I mean, just drop it rather as habitat.
Yeah, I think we certainly could.
It would probably save them some expense too.
Yeah, I'll bring that up to them. It's right at the edge of the retaining wall, where there's a little bit of lawn, fence, retaining wall, then 3 feet away is the tree, so they'd have to make sure they dropped it the other direction. But yeah, that would be a good idea. I will mention that to them. And it does not, it's not super close to the wetland either. It may be at approximately 100 feet, I believe. All right, we did send out the letter for 22 Eames Lane, and this was an enforcement that Dave had started before he left, and then just kind of let it, I was just trying to figure out what actually happened with that. And so the owner was very responsive, got back to us right away. I've met him at the site. He's gonna work with us, and he'll be on our next meeting. So that's the update with that. That was very easy. He was very cooperative. He's been great to work with. So that is nice. And then okay. See if I can pull this thing up. Most of the things I think will actually come up in our later agenda items that are on my report. Oh, no, here we go. So also Carl Hummel of the Mendon Conservation called. I had given him a copy of our enforcement order for Misco Springs, and we had a good conversation of what they've been doing and how they've been interacting with the developer as well. So we're having a joint site visit this Friday at 10 a.m. Carl will be there. The new Mendon agent will be there, as well as Deshang, who is on for later. We're just going to look at, I think Carl wanted to just have a little bit of coordination between the towns, and we'll look at the site. So I imagine if anyone is free and they want to come and take a look at the site, you could also look at the cleanup from the restoration if you wanted to. That's 10 o'clock on Friday. I had someone in from 9 Oak Knoll, engineer and a homeowner, just trying to figure out how to redo their septic, which is built pretty close to the wetland, but not as close as this one at 12 Stoddard. So they're really going to try to keep it out of the buffer zone, which would be wonderful. So the engineer's working hard on that. Someone stopped by with questions about 47 Main Street, Mr. Hurley. He had a lot of questions about, what the DEP would do and what the commission can do. And we had a good conversation. I feel like he understands it better, but there continues to be concern about that. And then just the last few days, we had a resident in with a lot of complaints about the sawmill. Just concerned that the commission hasn't handled this situation properly. He felt there should have been a notice of intent, et cetera, et cetera. So I have reached out to the people who run the sawmill and asked them to give us an update on, they were supposed to follow some things through with us and how that's going. And Mike Antonellis is also in contact with them and have asked them to come forward to have a meeting with us. So that's what's going on there. Just today, there 22 Oak Drive. Are you guys familiar with that property? It's a single family home on a large acre parcel down in the south of Upton. And someone who has bought it, but they did not buy it for a subdivision, he wants to continue to use for a single family home. So I think from a land preservation standpoint, that's probably good. So that was good news. And then Joe had a meeting about the MVP, and we've come up with a couple, and Mike Penko was there, a couple proposals for applications for that. The fire department has one operating their foam system, which I don't completely understand, but it would be more environmentally friendly. And then the other one is looking at the gravel parking lot at 0 Grove Street, in some kind of combination with the proposed pocket park, and potentially upgrading the stream channel that goes under 140 there. I guess the granite there, you know, if it fell in, it would be a disaster. And there's some erosion on the banks. So that's what's going on with MVP. And I believe Joe's going to try to get those on the docket by the deadline. Samreen Villa, if you remember, they, you know, don't have their certificate of compliance, and their stormwater has not been maintained for years. And they have hired an engineer to look at the stormwater system, and that's hopefully going on soon. We'll receive a report once they generate it. And then they've budgeted some money next year to hopefully take care of whatever recommendations the engineer comes up with. And let me just, I finally have this up. I can share my screen. Oh, I didn't want that one. Apologies. There it is. All right, so West River continues to cause concerns with the Board of Selectmen. They're not great, but they're doing okay with conservation. He's got his bounds in. His erosion controls are mostly doing well. He did expand extensively his retaining walls near the road. So he pulled down more trees than he would have had to, but this is out of our jurisdiction, although it may affect his natural heritage situation. It's 144 West River. And most of this, 185 Milford Street, either the story of the landowner is that somebody dumped this stuff here without him asking, bricks and materials. Pat Roach has given him permission to leave it there. It appears to mostly be bricks and building materials. It doesn't appear to be anything harmful in there, but you guys should be aware of that. And if you have concerns, you know, we can address it with the landowner.
Is this, there's an order of conditions on this lot?
Yes, there's
It
an
was
order.
recently cleared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it is
I mean,
interesting.
it does have really easy access from 140, so someone could have just snuck in there with a couple loads, and who would know?
Right, it seems to be, he did say he's going to put a gate up or something to try to block the access. Yeah, that was a little odd, but 44 Milford Street, they did an erosion control inspection, and I assume they're hoping to start work too soon. This is the gas station. Oh, here's the tree at Cranberry Court that they wanted down. We're going to look at School Street later. And that later. And this is later too. Just stopped by since I was in the area, 135 South Street. If you remember, DPW did some work here about a year ago to make a channel to prevent flooding against his home. Looks good. Doesn't seem to be issues. It seems well established. If you've driven by the Westboro Road lots, you can't miss that they have started. I want to check the plans. I feel like the tree cleared area is larger than indicated on the plans, but maybe it's not. I haven't had a chance to look at that yet. The wetland crossing area is right here. He's gone straight across it with his machinery. Erosion controls seem to be holding in this area anyway. It needs to do a little cleanup on, this is lot 5, but nothing, no terrible breaches. The stockpile kind of near the crossing. So work has definitely begun there. And that is it, other than Grace is going to be on vacation and I will be too, partly after Christmas. I'll be working remotely at least some of the time. So I'll be there for the meeting and try to be up to date on emails and reports, etc.
Okay. And Mary, going back to the 185 Milford Street where
Yep.
dumped by some unknown person, is that going to be a problem for the person with the owns the property? That one.
Yeah, so the building inspector, he thought about asking him to get rid of it. And basically he's gonna let him keep it there, but he can't build on it. He has to use it somewhere else on site. Obviously, we don't want it too close to the wetland, or he can build on it if it settles for 2 years or something. So I don't know what he's gonna do, but
Okay.
that's that.
Okay. Does anyone else have questions on Mary's report?
Yeah, well, it's not exactly a question on Mary's report, but it's something that perhaps we could put on the agenda at a future meeting. It has to do with those detention basins that weren't maintained for years and years. I suspect there are many detention basins in town that have not been maintained for many, many years, and probably quite a few of them that are the responsibility of the town. You know, I don't know what people think, but I think for a future discussion, maybe we could discuss whether we want those inventoried and inspected sometime in the future. I know of one, I'm not even gonna say where it is, but you know, it's got a berm. The detention basin has an earthen berm, and there are basically trees growing out of this berm right now, which can lead to failure eventually. But that's just one example. I know years ago there was one off of Pleasant Street that was maintained, but it's probably, you know, at least we should maybe try to get an inventory of them. More work for Mary, or but or maybe do you think the DPW might have an inventory of the detention basins they could share with us?
We do have a file, an ArcGIS file with some information about stormwater controls in it. Whether or not it includes all of the detention basins, I don't know. I have, on behalf of the department, collect the various plans so that we know what kind of easements we have. So, I mean, there's a bit of a start there, because those typically will show all of the things that need, all of the parts of the various stormwater control systems, including the basins.
I went to an MACC presentation several years ago about the town of Westboro, and they did that. They spent a couple years and made everyone maintain their stormwater. And they found that in Westboro, I guess they used to have a lot of flooding in the streets, and that took care of it. So, or that helped take care of it. I don't know that we have that problem, but that was a neat story.
Yeah, I wonder if the LiDAR information would actually permit us to see in effect, see the different basins, which might accelerate the process of collecting information about them. I have to check that.
Thank you, Bill. So, Mike, we can put that on our long-range list of goals. And for 8 o'clock, we have Upton Ridge discussion of baseline report and other certificate compliance requirements.
Boy, I don't see them here. I did not include them in the email invite, because they had been so, oh yes, we'll be there, blah, 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 blah.
Is Deshane here for that one?
No, he's here for Misco,
Oh, okay.
Rawson Farm Road Enforcement Order.
Oh, okay. So,
If you want, I can go through my pictures from the site walk at Upton Ridge.
that's
Great. I can do that. So I had a site walk with the engineer and we confirmed the bounds were in. There are a few spots that people, this one isn't quite so obvious, but they've been putting plantings in the woods and there's mulch there. So this is, the grass is kind of the no disturb line. So they need to, there's another more obvious spot down here. This one's pretty,
oh,
that one's pretty bad. And residents also have been just dumping, like if they have potted mums on their front porch, those end up getting dumped back in the woods. I don't know whether that's a huge concern, but he did suggest that their landscaper crew, they could set up a spot for people to put those things, because the landscaper crew, they take away, the mums that are at the entrance and stuff. So he thought that their landscaping company should be able to deal with that. That would be nice. As part of this, I don't know whether you guys took a look at the email. I did get reports from there was a wetland replication area, which has been in place since 2000. They did monitoring reports for the first year, but not the second. So I did ask them, they gave me all the reports. I did ask, do we have any reports for the second year? And the person wasn't sure. So they may need to provide that for us. This area in this picture was supposed to be one of the areas that was planted, but it looks like the landscaping people just decided to mow it. So they'll have to fix that. So there's a lot of little small things like that. A little bit of erosion control still that somebody missed. The engineer also found a few pipes that were like temporary pipes that had not been removed or capped for their drainage. Everything's pretty well stable though. This was like one of the last areas that hadn't been, that's just been seeded. Everything's pretty stable. This was a detention basin that still needed some work. The engineer actually lives in one of the units, so I asked him how well the stormwater was working, and of course he said it worked really well, but he can watch it firsthand to see how his stuff is working. And they had these conservation restriction markers are in, and the engineer did purchase the placards for the tops of the bounds, which they hadn't done. So they think they're pretty well on the way to being done. I can't remember what the issues were with the baseline report, but I think there may have been suggestions that they still needed to take care of.
Yeah, I took another look at it, and I do have a few things maybe we could talk about at some point.
Yeah. Maybe we could potentially do it tonight or wait till we get them on the line.
should we put them on our meeting for the 27th?
Yeah, I'll see if they're available to come in.
maybe give them a heads up. There's a couple things. One is baseline report probably should include photographs of all those bounds or where the bounds are located, to document current conditions. Then the other thing I noticed in the baseline report is that it doesn't seem there are photos included, but there doesn't seem to be a figure which shows where the photos were taken. And virtually all baseline reports have that. Basically just a separate figure, typically showing the photo point locations. So hopefully, when they did the baseline work, they did it with a camera that has GPS, enabled, and hopefully won't be a big problem for them. But I think we should ask for that. Plus additional photo points to document the bounds, the new bounds that have been installed.
Yeah, so it looks like their kind of outstanding issues are the wetland mitigation reports, just some kind of the minor cleanup things that we saw, the baseline report, and they need an as-built. I think they're working on the as-built, so that would be what they would need to do to get their certificate of compliance. Yes.
What about the CR? Are we going to issue?
Oh, right. Yeah, no, we should wait.
Like a partial. Well, I just we may consider like issuing a partial, because I can give you a little update. Tony's on. I saw Tony's on too. I think there was a conference call for land trusts, Mass Land Trust Coalition, a week or so ago. And one of the topics was the backlog of CRs. Hi, Tony.
Hey, guys.
Hey, jump in here if I'm, just quickly. I think there's currently around 185 CRs in the system that need to be reviewed, including, I think it was 65 that they really haven't even started the review yet on. And I don't know where this particular CR is in the system. It could be one of those 65. They are hiring a legal firm to help with this. They're hiring a half-time staffer to be doing some of this, and they have some contractors on board. But there was no talk, at least I don't remember any talk about, when this backlog will be resolved. So, I mean, it could be, a long time before we see an Upton Ridge CR. I don't think we've gotten any comments back from the state on Upton Ridge. I don't think, unless Pulte hasn't shared them with us. But if there's no comments whatsoever back, that could mean they're one of the 65, which haven't even been started yet. So anyway, the point is, I think we should be willing to issue a partial, because that CR could be, quite a ways off time-wise.
Should we have them at our next meeting, Mary?
Yeah, I'll try to get them at our next meeting, and maybe they can give us some kind of idea of when they're going to finish the as-built and stuff like that, so we can make sure they get everything done.
Okay, thank you. It'd be in their best interest to attend this time.
Yes. Chris, we could probably start with Rawson Farm, since it's not an advertised public hearing.
Okay. So we have Rawson Farm Road enforcement order.
Yes. Deshang, do you want to share what you did and your role in the situation, or you want me to describe it first?
Yeah, I can share just to give the commission a little bit overview of the site condition and so what we are going to do, and probably need your help to get the applicants understand the situation. So let me share the screen. This is the big picture. So I will zoom into. So this is the Lawson Farm. Lawson Farm. So road coming off. So yeah, coming from I forgot what that name. Road crossing. So it have been a while. So when I was involved, it was 2004. Probably Christine was on. I don't remember. It's so long time ago. So this is the area of the detention basin number 1. I have a little bigger. Let me see. So many. No, that's still monitor open. Let's do it. Or maybe I can explain with this one. So this is the Locust Hill, so it's all pretty much on Mendon side. This is the town line roughly going this way. So like a law 13, 4, 11, 10, and then so I get to find that sheet. So on this part of it, but this part is technically they have not really started house construction. There are some storage, loam piling, crushed stone, that material is stockpiled here. So, and the paved section also end up in the Mendon side. The Upton side it's just have a dirt gravel road for access. And so the causes, the runoff coming down here is supposed to go into detention basin number 1 area. Since it was not constructed, you can see there's a swale going into it. And that swale has not constructed because the basin has not constructed. So there was a little, it's not little, so the water getting in on lot 10, which is this one. So the water coming on the roadside, they did put some sediment basin there, but was we didn't realize during the rain they did something in July of this year. July was so wet, so much rain, so we received probably 3 times of the normal precipitation. So there's some washout. When we realized it, we did go check it down. Let me see if I can find the bigger site plan. Okay, so this would probably, okay, that's good, better. So we just saw that swale coming in. So this is lot 9. So it's coming in, there was a silt fence installed around the edge of the proposed swale, which should go to basin number 1. So on lot 7, so which is cleared, it's pretty flat. There's nothing happened there. Right? There's kind of vegetated, no trees left. So because of this, the silt fence was installed in very early time, probably I would say at least 10 years ago. So with all that, those years there's no activity, nobody updated. So when that runoff coming from here to on the lot 10, they kind of washed into this very end of the finger of the wetlands, which is near wetland 5046 to 5047. So it's not that clear, but this is 5046 and 5047. And this marked area is not free 35, 36 away from the seal fence. So so at the time, all the flags was gone, so we couldn't identify if there's any wash out into the wetlands or into the buffer zone, the 30-foot no disturb zone. And by the way, this plan was approved at the time. I don't think we have a 30-foot no disturb zone, but at this area, it happened to be more than 34 feet away. So as soon as this was we find it out. So Mary was on the site, and then we took an action. So installed the erosion control and seal fence, which I think I can show you on the photos. So that's basically this new photo. So the washout area is cleaned out by hand and the shovel. So that's basically, this is the area. So we cleaned out to pretty much to the original A soils. So was very little get into the wetlands, mostly are in the 30-foot no disturb zone. So after they cleaned it out, they brought the leaves on back to this area. So we did an inspection early December. So and submit this report. So Mary probably you may have some earlier version, so which shows this area had like about 4 inches of sediment washed in. Varies. So the maximum I think is about 4 inches. So which took them a couple of days, cleaned it out as soon as we identified the wetland line. So and the seal fence is in place right now. So that's, I think that's basically the situation. So and we are monitoring it. So there's a big so they also start creating better swales on the roadside on Friday. We probably can review it. And so this one was still old, was I think December 2nd. This report, Mary should have this report. So I think that's basically the situation there. So I will leave it here and then see if any questions, and or Mary, if I missed anything, you can so just feel free add on to it.
Yeah, I mean, they have removed all the sediment. This area was mostly treed. I'm not sure how much, herbaceous vegetation they, got disturbed, but it seems like we can wait till spring to see how things come in. And yeah, I was pleased with the cleanup, but I think the enforcement order should stay in place until we can evaluate the situation in the spring.
Sure. Yeah, that's I feel the cleanup probably kept the root zone. If this any ground cover should coming back, like the ferns, reevaluate in the springtime and see how much they're coming back.
Yeah, and I guess I hadn't thought about the fact this is such an old order of conditions. If I can't remember where the 30-foot no disturb is delimited on these plans. We may want to negotiate with or I guess one thing I was thinking is, and I don't know, you should talk to the contractor if they're planning on submitting notice of intents for the lots or not. I think considering how old the subdivision is, we could require it for the few lots that have wetlands on them. I don't know.
Yeah, I think on the lot part is probably should be able to have some consideration. The only thing is for the drainage, maybe a little bit tougher, so that's already covered under the very original 2006 order of conditions. And so they technically, I saw they would, that's why that old erosion control fence was installed, but so kind of rotted out. So they should get this swale in. When the swale is completed and the dam is actually acting like a pretty good intermittent stream. If you guys later on, maybe Friday, we can go take a look at it. It works very well, but in the wetlands provide some variety of habitat around this. Will definitely provide some intermittent stream bank habitat around the side with the BVW. So we can revisit this. So probably think about it. But for other limitations, to try to when they're coming back for a house, so maybe we can establish some kind of vegetation buffer to grant this drainage intermittent stream for a better protection. But they do have to do some minimal maintenance for the function of the swales around the way. They do, but they can have some kind of vegetation buffer around the top of the bank. The stream itself probably will self-establish as a channel, just like a natural stream almost, as we did on the Mandan side. And discuss that, see what is the best option for the environment and the wetland function. So that's definitely a very good idea to look at it. Drainage systems.
We should review the order conditions to see. I would be surprised if we don't need to have individual filings for some of these lots, which are where there's work in the buffer. But
this is the buffer. I can see most of the house will probably not need to go in from the 9, 8, and so this basin, the basin will still in the buffer. So they will have to construct it probably as soon as possible. Otherwise, when the road drainage is in, there will be lots of runoff water without a place to go to mitigate it. It's going to be a concern. So they are starting, this is the last basin they need to construct. There's total, originally have 8 stormwater basins. So the others are constructed and function. So this is the only, they are doing the last to the second is on Mandan side is number 4. So this is number 1. It's kind of a little bit ionic. So number 1 and at the last one. So it's not where what we numbered it is whatever they need to construct it. So.
Well, I'm just asking, let's just check to see if there is any house related, septic system related construction work within a buffer zone. Maybe there isn't, but
at this point I don't see, so we'll wait and see how.
Yeah, I guess I have a bit of a problem. There's no scale here, so I don't know where 100 feet is.
This is about 40 scale. This is 100. Let me get it. So this is the 100-foot buffer zone.
It looks like on lot 9, the septic is within the 100.
Oh yeah, this one probably. Yeah, this looks like. I mean, they can. I don't know. They could change it to this corner. That's just still the old plan from the preliminary kind of design perspective for drainage. It's not a definitive house and septic design. They have to come back to the Board of Health.
Okay.
This is.
And so Deshang, you'll be busy. Deshang's out here every other week, doing inspections for the next while, because they're still going, right?
Right, yeah, it's happy to say, so even I can live to 100 years old, is almost, 20% of my life is here.
Yeah.
It's a long time, so I get to, I had to admit, so it's such a big change, it's really, so. Overall coming out pretty good, so this place is definitely, it's quite a difference, so the last is probably the best, is they probably kept the Upton as the last, for some reason, but I don't know, so. They, when it's far, they finished up to lot 6 on the Mendon side, so that the house is already, people is living here at least for 4, 5 or 6 years now, if I remember. Yeah.
Thank
So,
you,
yeah.
Deshang. I think,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, if there's no questions, I will see you Friday morning, and everyone is welcome. And so when you see it, and probably can give in some feedback. And then, so if we want them to try to avoid any disturbance except the drainage swale, I think that's pretty good request. So see what they, so if they, otherwise they have to come back to you for an NOI, so because if they do want to put the septic within 100 feet, see why they, yeah, this is not on well water. Oh yeah, it's on well water, but if it's on well water, they can put the well up there and put the septic here. So then the 2 septic can be relatively on the side, and then they can put the well. So yeah, I would discuss that. This is definitely a good question. I will bring that up to them, say, for lot 9, can you guys consider lot 10? I think it's far away. And lot 10 definitely is far away. So yeah, I will, lot 9 is the one probably likely we can outside the buffer zone. I guess that would be a good thing to do anyhow, right? So it's better than 30-foot storage zone. And we can discuss Friday morning. I will give them a heads up on it.
So any other questions from the commission? Mary, any other questions for you?
nope, I don't think so. I was pleased with once the contractor got started, it was a very quick turnaround. So I was pleased with that.
Thank you, Mary, for your due diligence on that. So because it's hiding in the woods, we almost missed it. So to a degree, so we saw that the construction has not started. So and in the summer usually don't have much of an issue, but this year the summer is like the spring because the rain. See.
Yeah.
So Mary.
So much. So good night, and so whoever will show up. So 10 o'clock. We probably can meet at the trailer if you mind to meet the contractor at their date at the date's office.
On the off the road, off whatever
Yeah.
that is, North Bridge Road or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep. Then we can drive back.
Right, then we can drive back to, since the Mendon Conservation, I guess is considered joint one.
Yeah.
If see what we can talk about, so you want to see a little the work done in Mendon. I think it's so since it's joint, so you can discuss and while looking at what's happened, you may be able to pick up some the lessons of good or bad. So from what you see there, and then we can move to up the hill and then go section down to follow that unpaved section of the road here, so we can walk into this area. So then check, the restored, the cleaned up area, and then. So here it's probably can see from the roadway, they cleared it, but it's almost like a little depression by nature. There's a high spot here, so this area definitely can handle, if they get the swales in first, I think if this area can be used temporarily as additional protection. Sort of, if you see a while earlier, it's not just for Mandan. For the big one system, you will see that. So there's lots of swales created around the site. So there's one coming. So this was modified. Right now, there's a big swale coming here, and then this swale is installed. This swale is installed, so that helped. And then there's also a long swale coming down here. There's a basin was constructed, new basin constructed here. So this two basins was eliminated, moved to here. So there's lots of thousands of feet, probably a few thousand feet of swales around the wetland border on the Mandan side, graded. We found it's really effective in erosion control, and also we believe that in long run, the intermittent stream will creating bank habitat, go side with the BVW, it's probably have a better demarcation to prevent future people's intrusion, as well as providing the diversified edge habitat for the community and of wildlife in this area of over probably 120 acre or 130 acre land. So with 60,000 square foot lot, so it's relatively sparse. So it will take a little bit of time to come back, but overall the setting, it seems like I'm anxious to see after the things is completed, to go back to look at it. It seems like it would provide a very good connectivities. So over culvert, we can take a look of some of the culvert is done. It's a really wide culvert for connectivity. I can walk through, so it's a 12-foot wide, 5 to probably 4 to, I think it's 6 foot or more clearance. I can walk through no problem. I'm a short person, so you probably can accommodate a person at deer to go through. So it was designed and constructed open bottom to meet all the stream crossing standards. So it's exceeded much more. So it's interesting to see some of will pass by this crossing number 3. Originally proposed the 3 crossings, but end up construct 2. There's one in the around here was eliminated because we get to use the old Misco Spring crossing. They have a crossing already, so we kind of eliminated this culvert. So which is good. So. Okay, so yeah, it's a big site. There's lots of good or bad things that we learned from here. So, okay, thank you. Good night. If there's no questions, so we'll see you Friday.
Thank you. Okay, so this will be interesting to see on Friday. So, any other questions from the commission? I'm sure more will come up when the state is seen on Friday. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Good night.
Good night. Okay, so we have 825 17 School Street. Minor modifications for expanded work within the wetland.
Yep, that might be me, Bill Andrews.
Okay.
We had a come before you. We had to dig through the wetlands to connect to the sewer and an electrical connection. The sewer went reasonably well. We hit the mother of all rocks. We were hitting some rocks that were 5 feet in diameter, and we only had a small machine in there. We were able to move a couple. We were supposed to go straight through across to the sewer, then double back kind of along the stone wall to go backwards towards the telephone pole. But when we were hitting all these giant rocks, we finally hit where those 5-foot rocks came from. And that was the mother of all rocks, which we were not going to be able to move through. And if we came further down into the wetlands, you can see that there were 4 healthy trees that were about 6-inch trees that we would have hit. So it was just better to not hit any trees. We could just do a straight path straight to the telephone pole, avoid the trees, and it was actually a shorter route. We ended up doing less digging. We only had a small excavator, and we just couldn't move the rocks. I think I sent Mary one of the pictures that had pictures of these 5-foot rocks that we were able to get out, but we're trying to dig just a narrow little trench. And, by the time you start hitting these giant rocks, you're not digging a small wrench. So it was just better to go a shorter, straight route that didn't hit any trees. So I let Mary know what we had to do. She was very, very helpful. I want to say thank you to Mary. It's really nice to have someone who'll come out and give you some good advice. She also was very, very kind to show me a lot of the invasive species. I seem to have the perfect environment for every invasive species known to Upton, which I'll be trying to take care of. Once we had got the sewer line through, Mary gave me the address of the place that had wetland seeds. I talked to them. They said it was better to plant in the fall and even now in the winter, because some of the seeds like to have a winter dormancy period, which I was unaware of. So we smoothed it out, rigged it out, planted all the wetland seeds from the company out in Hadley. Mary was kind enough to come out and visit because I let her know what was going on. And she had suggested that we put some appropriate plantings in to help remediate some of the digging that we had done around. And one of the things that she suggested I love was high bush blueberry, which is a wetland plant. For those of you who love to hike around Upton's forest, high bush blueberry is something that's out there a lot in Upton. So I like that one. She had recommended that we go out and get 10 replacement bushes. I was worried that we might lose one with the winter, so we bought a dozen, and we've got them already planted out there ahead of time right now. Mary, do you happen to have the picture of what it looks like right now? We, instead of haying it, I didn't want to hay it because it would grow grass in there, and I didn't want grass in there. It doesn't have grass right now. And I have it if you don't have that picture, Mary.
Go ahead. Why don't you go ahead and share it?
Oh, that's the hard part, is I don't know how to do that.
Oh, or I can look for it. I think you emailed it to me, right?
I did. It's the one on it's the one of all the nice leaves. I mean, I can so one of the things I wanted to do is that right now the forest floor is covered with leaves. Geez, Mary, I wish I knew how to do. I wish I knew how to share this. I just don't use this software very often. So what I did was my next door neighbor Russell, who's a fantastic guy, he has a monstrous pile of leaves that are indigenous to that neighborhood. So this is what the site looks like right now. I carted over the leaves that are falling from the trees in this area and tried to make it look as best we can. Oddly, the only way you can tell that this was a dig site right now is because of the wattle and the silt fence. And Mary suggested I leave that. Oh yeah, that's the picture of the stone wall that we had to make. You should see this thing. It's about 7 feet wide we hit the mother load of stones. I mean, it was unbelievable. But the excavator guy who had a nice small rubber tracked machine was very skilled at just placing them together so they looked very, very nice. Right now, because of the rain we just had, the section on far away is actually flooded right now. This has one small puddle on it. But that's what I would expect in a wetland, and I hope it will look great. But Mary thought that it would be a good idea for me to come back to you and share where we are in this process.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'll share the original plans too. This was just a larger disturbance than was expected. You can see here that they plan to disturb about a 12-foot wide stretch. I don't know what you would say. It's probably at least 20, right, Bill?
At the far end, because when we started trying to dig around that big rock, it just got wider and wider.
Yeah.
The good news is we didn't end up using the storage pile land, that big circle. We didn't end up using that. So instead of going basically out from the house to the street and then doubling back, we basically cut across that straight part. But the actual digging for the sewer, I would say we were able to keep within the bounds. But it's wetland. You're driving around there with a tracked vehicle, even if it is rubber tracked vehicles, and it just is muddy. So it was best to replant the whole thing, put a whole bunch of fresh wetland blueberry plants in there, and cover it all with leaves. But if you have any suggestions of anything else you'd like me to do, I'm certainly very willing to do whatever you would like.
Yeah, I just, unless the board has other suggestions, I just thought we should formalize this with a letter of minor modification, just stating that he deviated from the approved plans and that he planted 12 blueberry bushes to kind of compensate for the extra disturbance.
Does anyone on the commission have other comments? I think that's perfect, Mary. And we appreciate the update.
No problem. I'm just happy to work with you folks. It went really well, and finally we got it all put back together before winter came.
Oh, that's good. Good news.
So maybe we can have a vote to approve a minor modification for Bill.
Okay. I make a motion that we write a letter memorializing the letter of minor modifications for the work on 17 School Street. And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Prescott, aye.
Aye.
Alan, aye.
David, aye.
Sandy, I. Marcella, I.
Mike, aye.
Unanimous vote of the commission. So Mary, thank you for writing that letter, and that will keep things moving forward.
Okay. Thank you all very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for attending. Okay, so I think we are up to our reports now. And we heard, is there anything else, Mary, for the administrator's report?
No, that was pretty much it.
How about Grace, the administrative report?
Grace, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Hear you.
Yep.
So we have 7 sets of minutes to approve tonight. We have the previous set from the previous meeting, November 8th, 2023. And then 6 sets of backed up minutes. Chris, I wasn't sure if you wanted to approve them one by one.
Each one by one.
Sure.
But if we approve the minutes from November 8th, 2023, we have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Press I.
I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
Mike, aye.
Excellent. So that's unanimous vote of the commission to approve the minutes from November 8th. And now we have August 10th, 2022. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Get a second?
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Press I.
I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
I. Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
Mike, aye.
Excellent. So we have November 9th, 2022. Do we have a motion to
So moved.
have a second?
Second.
Second,
Okay, press I.
I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
Mike, aye.
Excellent. Now we have December 28th, 2022. Do we have a
So
motion?
moved.
Have a
Second.
Okay, press
I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
Mike, aye.
excellent. Now we're at January 11th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris, I.
I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
Mike, aye.
Excellent. Now we have January 25th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Chris, I.
I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
Mike, aye.
Excellent. Now we have February 22nd, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Chris, I.
I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
Mike, aye.
Excellent. Thank you, Race, for putting all these together. So I think we've done all the minutes listed.
Let me just share my screen with finances. Mary, it appears my screen is not sharing.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. What one were you going to share first?
The voucher that was previously approved prior to this meeting.
Okay.
11/21/23. So we received this invoice about 2 weeks ago, and we decided to approve it since there was 3 weeks in between the previous meeting.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve this payment?
So moved.
Second.
Chris, I.
I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
I.
Marcella, I.
Mike, aye.
Excellent. And now we have expense vouchers.
And this one, oh, sorry, Chris. This one, Mike has a few reimbursements for purchases he made for land stewardship. And then mileage, November mileage for Mary.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the payment of the?
So
items?
moved.
Second,
Okay, Chris, I.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
David, I.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
Mike abstains.
Okay, so we have a majority of the commission voting for that one.
Then lastly, this is our balance sheet.
Does anyone have questions about the balance sheet? Hearing none, thank you, Race. How about the open space committee update?
The Reed family has engaged a local realtor to help them with the sale of the land. The meeting, or the open space committee is meeting tomorrow, and we'll discuss what our interest is in that property, and I'll communicate that to the realtor, which is Bill McCormick. So there is that, and then Mary emailed me something from Joe Layden regarding land off of Lake Wildwood, 50 acres on the southwest side of it. That family approached him directly about whether or not the town might be interested, and he contacted Grafton because some of the land is in Grafton. And the only other thing, and that's really all I know about it at this point. The only other thing is Joe's email message also said that the family had been approached by the railroad about the land and their interest in selling it, if I understood the email correctly, which would be very interesting because either they'd be the direct access would have been off of Dairy Drive.
Oh,
And conceivably, I don't think there's direct access off of Maroney Road, which comes off of 140 in Grafton and ends up in Upton. But Mary, do you have any more detail on where that stands at this point?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can't remember who's included on the email thread, but the Grafton people did reply and say they thought they'd be interested in working with us to try to, purchase the land, preliminarily interested.
It doesn't directly abut any of the Grafton open space in that area, of which I think there's almost 300 acres.
Yeah.
But it's very close. And that we would divert, we've already bought the parcel that extends from William Street. So if we were to do this, we would own all of the land on virtually the entire southwest side of that property, of Lake Wildwood, rather.
Yeah, and I just remember, I think when Amy pulled it up to look at it on the screen, the different parcels, that there is actually no access from Maroney. I think there's one parcel in between, or whatever the name of that road is. So the only access is off Dairy Drive, which goes across the railroad tracks. So it's not a very good access.
It would be convenient for the railroad.
Yeah, it would be convenient for the railroad. Yep.
And I'm assuming they're interested because they figure they might be able to develop something between the railroad and Wildwood, like Wildwood, which I think would be horrendous, but that's a personal opinion.
Right. It would be a good
Isn't it
conservation
chapter
land.
61?
No.
No, yeah, it isn't. Okay. We should be very proactive about this.
Yeah, the tax maps indicate it's about 50 acres. The deeds come in somewhat under that, but I haven't really done a close or a deep dive into the deeds to determine whether or not I'm interpreting them correctly. But that family has owned that land since the mid-60s.
So, Mary, you said that the railroad has approached these people, or did someone say that?
I thought Joe's email said that they had told him that the railroad had
Yeah.
approached them.
It'd be interesting to know when that happened, because the railroad is, you may know, as many of you may know, it's somewhat in turmoil in terms of ownership. You know, they may or may not be in a position to purchase anything at this point in time.
I think we should be very proactive with this, seeing as railroad history with the town of Hopedale.
It would be very sad if that undeveloped land along Wildwood became a rail yard.
Yeah, now the access off of Dairy Drive is owned by the individual who developed Dairy Drive. However, the owners of the land have an easement over the land, that little strip of land owned by that developer. We did ask the developer whether or not he was interested in selling it to us when we acquired the other parcel, which we acquired from him as well. And of course, he told us no, because that is essentially the only access to that property. So it's has some value in that regard.
The access from Maroney Road, is that wet or dry? Do we know?
Well, I think Mary has pointed out that they'd have to.
No, I'm saying the potential access. It may be another owner, but the railroad could always try to purchase that.
I don't think.
Lot
I
as
don't
well.
know. I don't think it's wet along. I mean, I think you could get to it. I'm not sure whose land you'd have to buy to do that. I think there's two owners that have that could be approached.
Yeah. So.
But there is a good deal of it, especially closer to 140 that is wet.
You know, what we should be doing, I think, is looking towards maybe a land grant this round, 2024 round, and decide which parcels. I mean, there's a couple of options. There's land on North Street, potentially the Reed property, this Wildwood property. I'm not sure how to go about it. Maybe we should, Open Space or Concom should ask to have a meeting with the selectmen or Joe. Try to chart a path here. I mean, of the three, you know, it's hard to say why Wildwood would not be it would be probably my first choice to pursue. Oh, so they'd have a river crossing to the north there. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of wetland in there.
Yeah, and that's Misco Brook there. There's a bridge across it, but that right there, yeah, there's a bridge, but that leads to that private lot.
So which land is it? Can you just run your cursor around it for me?
Yeah, I think it's this lot, this lot, this lot, and this lot, and I think not that lot. I think but maybe. I'm pretty sure it was this one, this one, this one, and that one. Maybe
The
this
last
land.
one, the last one the town owns, Mary, already.
Oh, the town owns this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, there's a just to a little bit above you. Yeah, there's the boundary, that little line.
So the town owns that one.
Yeah, the town owns.
And this one's up for grabs.
Yeah, that's the Herbst Senat property, and you're right. The one that parcel extends into Grafton, just above it. That's Grafton.
Okay,
And then the parcels that you pointed, that one and the two above it are also part of the same ownership.
yeah. Yeah, so it's very, very good conservation land.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, like the land just to the west of the Grafton parcel above Dairy Drive, that's private and that's private. So there, it unfortunately just doesn't directly abut all of that open space in Grafton.
Right.
Mary, do you usually have that Grafton open space map or Grafton Trail map that I?
Yeah, I'll see if I can find that. You sent it earlier this week. That was a nice map.
Mm.
Oh, whoops. All right, here it is. I don't know if I can zoom in or not, but this is kind of the land. It looks like there's trails through there, the land in question, and then the Grafton open space.
And can you zoom in on this at all?
Oh, I think I have to download it to zoom
Okay,
in.
well, if you can look at, I drew the purple circle right there. If you notice, there's a pink line that goes across the railroad there. See, there's the railroad, and then there's a pink line. And I guess something to research is, does Grafton or somebody own the right to cross the railroad?
Isn't that the gas line corridor?
That is the gas line corridor.
It is, but why is it pink? You know, it seems is it pink because it's part of Oakmont Farms open
Well,
space?
so I took a look at that. I took a look at the deeds,
Yeah.
and I could find no evidence that Grafton owns that strip.
Okay.
I found the original plans for the gas line, and that strip is on is not on the property that is being considered at this point. It's on the.
We might want, map was prepared by the Grafton Land Trust. We might want to just ask them about that and see if they have a different interpretation, or maybe they know something we don't. Why they drew that line like they did.
Yeah, they could have some private arrangement that's not.
I don't know, but I mean, that question will come up.
Yep.
You know, if you're going to be buying those parcels on one side of the railroad, you'd have legal right to actually get to all that Grafton open space.
What would be our next step in pursuing this?
Well, my understanding at this point is that Joe and Mike are working on it. I don't know what, they haven't engaged Open Space or the Conservation Commission at this point, so I don't know what their intent is. Whether or not they intend to lead this effort, which is.
Well, yeah, we should have a conversation with them. I mean, open space preservation is Conservation Commission open space responsibility. Certainly would appreciate their help, but if they want to, I don't know, it's just not the way we've done things in Upton before. I can't think of a land preservation project that was led by the town manager before, so.
Maybe we should take the first reign.
Well, I'll try to feel him out and see what he's. It could be, I don't know if he knows, he used to work in Grafton, maybe he has connections there. So maybe he end up being the liaison with Grafton. I'll just ask him what he envisions for this and how he would like to work it out. It seems like you guys, obviously the Open Space Committee has done many of these projects before and know what they're doing, so.
Yeah, and I think the general consensus is that it's well worth preserving.
Yeah. All right, I'll see what he's thinking.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
Okay, land search.
So let's see. I'll start with Peppercorn Hill. Bill and I went to check out the beaver. There's a beaver dam that is causing problems on the trail under the power lines. And we can't, I'm not sure what we can do about it because it's National Grid's property. There's definitely, it's over top the trail. There's a little kind of crossing that is not, it doesn't feel safe. It's just kind of cobbled together, but it doesn't satisfy, anything that would that we would call a water crossing. And part of the problem is that it will start, it's already started eroding. So if there's, if the beavers build it higher and the water starts flowing faster, it's going to be a problem. So I have no idea what to do. Like, do we approach National Grid? Do we just do something? Do we build the crossing? Do we destroy the dam? They have a lodge out there. I would love to see if Beaver Solutions can come and take a look at it, but it's National Grid's land, and I wouldn't ask Beaver Solutions to create a solution without the cooperation of National Grid. So this is a more complicated situation than our usual beaver situation.
Marcella, Bill, I have a question. When that Boy Scout project was built across the Mill River, did we get did somebody get an easement for that from Grid? I know we were talking to Grid, but did that whole easement just end up on someone's desk and never get finalized?
That's exactly right. It ended up on the desk of the guy we were dealing with, and followed up with him a handful of times, and he basically said, yeah, it's on my desk, I'll never get to it. In a nice way.
Hey, Marcella, Beaver Solutions has a contract, I believe, with National Grid. So if you call them, he might be able to talk to them directly.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. So well, anyway, we'll try that. We'll start there and see if we can manage this. And if they can't do anything, we'll have to talk to National Grid about, the next steps. Also at Peppercorn Hill, we somebody has okay. There's a cellar hole along the Taft Road, that access that connects into Camp Street when you get into Milford. And somebody is working on it, but it's not like they're taking things away. They're actually building it and repairing it, which is, I'm guessing that this person feels like they're doing a good deed. But this is something that I would also want to bring the Historical Commission and Historical Society in on, because it's basically a historical site. I don't know if they have protocols about how to protect these sites, but our our approach has always been leave it alone, and just try to keep things clear so that it doesn't experience further damage, kind of like we did at the schoolhouse on North Street. We just try to keep vegetation out of there. But we're not like trying to rebuild or excavate anything there. So I'd be happy to approach the Historical Society and historical commissions to see what we should do. I don't know if it's appropriate to write up a letter and just leave it on the site. This person has left all this tool. They may have taken them home or covered them up before the rain, but there's like shovels and picks and all kinds of materials there for that this person is using to do the building, and also a piece of a stone wall that goes along the trail there has been built up some too. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts about that. I mean, we do manage that property, but since this is kind of in the realm of historical stuff, I am, I'm not sure who really gets to make decisions about it here.
But we're the commission's the landowner. And
So,
it seems like our regs are being violated by this person. So,
well,
and then it becomes somewhat philosophical. Do you let a ruin like that just continue to become a ruin, or do you restore it? I don't remember if you remember years ago when we had Thorson give us a walk, a Stonewall walk, and he clearly gave his opinion. He was on the ruin side. Just let it go. Let these walls go. Let these cellar holes go. Don't do anything. But others are on the other side, of that argument.
well,
And it seems like this we know what side this person is on, apparently.
Well, the only thing I can think to do is leave a note on the site, tape it to a shovel and see, and invite them to come and speak to us and see what they're up to. And, if they have a proposal to do something that seems like it could be a positive thing, I, would certainly entertain that. But, I can draft up a letter and send it around.
I would make a motion that Marcella has authority to draft and post a letter to be placed at the Peppercorn Hill cellar hole off Taft Street or Taft Road, Taft Street. Asking the person involved to stop work and contact the commission or the Land Stewardship Committee, whichever you prefer, Marcella.
Come in. So you made that motion. I
did.
If it's appropriate for me to second it, I will. So second.
So voice vote. Chris, aye.
Aye.
Alan, aye.
David, aye.
Sandy, aye.
Marcella, aye. Okay.
I did want to say that I think at this point, the work that's been done includes adding basically a single layer of stone on top of the new stone on top of the foundation and on top of a wall that runs along Taft Street, and cleaning out some of the vegetation in the cellar hole itself. They did bring in new stone, though. I mean, it's clear that they got scrap stone from some sort of quarry or whatever, because you can see the tool marks in it.
So is there evidence that equipment drove in there, or are they carrying?
No, you know what? I mean, they clearly had to drive it down, but if there's any evidence of, in my opinion, of any evidence of anything happening on that road, it looked more like to me that it would have been ATV type stuff. If they brought a truck down, it didn't do much. It didn't do any damage to the road. But it does look to me like they brought fresh stone down there somehow.
Or they
Um,
may have found something on site that they broke up. I know that there's drill holes. I mean, maybe they're really being consistent with the historical, construction of this and are doing their own drilling and cutting the stone.
well, that stone clearly came from somewhere else. It was completely fresh.
Okay.
I mean, it was white. And no,
Yeah.
no moss on it at all. It was
Hmm.
very interesting.
Okay, well, I'll keep you all posted. The next thing I wanted to bring up was Mechanic Street parking area. I know that Tony and Dan had something to add to the conversation, and I did attend the planning board meeting last night where they discussed what needs, that we need to do. We will need to file with the planning board for a change of use. And in addition, we may need to put an apron in to, this is what the DPW asks anybody who's putting a new driveway in. Question is, one of the other things is that land stewardship to discuss the envelopes that Dan from SVT had proposed. Here's pictures. The Land Stewardship Committee approved this envelope, the 75 by 65 off of Mechanic Street, which would accommodate 8 spaces. That's still pending our confirming what the wetland situation is there. So we, I don't know if we'll lose spaces or have to move them around or something, but right now we're talking about 8 spaces there. The Fowler Street access, we decided that we didn't really need to have people be able to pull in that far, that those 2 parking spaces could just come up against Fowler Street, and that the piece that's jutting out to the left was going to be a turnaround. And if people are just parking right at Fowler Street, there really is no need for a turnaround there. So we were proposing that the 50 by 50 be reduced to to just to accommodate those 2 cars, and that would not necessitate. I think it might mean that we'd have to take down 1 tree. I don't think we would necessarily have to take down. I think there were 3 trees that might have had to been sacrificed for this configuration that you're looking at. Dan did point out that maybe sometime in the future we may want to expand this, and that we should talk about keeping that 50 by 50 envelope, even if we put the parking spaces closer to Fowler Street. Just make sure that that's in the CR in case we do, or somebody in the future does want to expand that parking area. So that was Dan's suggestion, and it might be a good idea. And since these are two different lots, 2 different parcels, we would have to file twice with the planning board. And I am still trying to figure out how many, and they would be counting if it were to be filed once, and which I suppose we could argue with them that we can just do 1 filing for both spots. If we do roll it into 1, that brings our number of parking spaces to 10. And I believe the threshold to have to create parking spaces that are ADA compliant, it 10 spots would trigger that. So that's something to consider. Somebody on the planning board thought that that was that it was 10, that was 8 spots that triggered that. So we have to confirm what that number is, but it might have bearing on how we decide to file or configure things here.
Marcel, it's fine. Can we make the reasonable case on Fowler Street that there's already 2 spots there? I mean,
That was my thinking too. That wouldn't be a change of
you
use.
know, just they're already there. So, you know, one like maybe 5-inch diameter pine might need to come down to make the second spot more feasible, but people already parked there.
Yeah.
You know,
No, that did
so
occur.
you know, I would make that argument if we need to argue about it. And same's true, you know, you don't need an apron there, again, because it's basically an existing parking area.
Yeah, I'm not sure what
So-
the DPW is. Yeah, we've never put aprons in before. We, got 3 parking areas that, quite frankly, are not doing too well. They might be improved with an asphalt apron, but the DPW has never chased us down to make us do that. We didn't even know we had to. At least I didn't. Bill may have become aware of this since he started working there. But we may not. It's possible that there's some rules about this that we could work around. I would recommend having an apron on the Mechanic Street section, just because there's a bit of a slope there. And if anybody has driven into like the Stephens parking area, that's become kind of a mess. It's when you come off the street, it's kind of the parking lot's kind of worn down, and there's puddles are forming there now, which just sort of builds on the problems over time. So it'd be wise for us to design this parking area so that it won't require maintenance, and an apron might be part of that. So, Tony, if you have something you want to add to this.
Well, I think that we certainly are going to have to address the parking apron on Mechanic Street in the CR. I did make some changes that I'll walk through in a minute when I'm up. But I wasn't sure whether you wanted to do an apron for both Fowler Street and Mechanic Street. So I put both in, but we can change that when we get to that language. I do think, Marcel, that we should keep, as Dan recommended, the 50 by 50 footprint for Fowler Street, because that does give you the most flexibility moving forward. It doesn't mean you have to use all that space, but I think it's probably a good idea to leave it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I would agree. We might as well keep our options open.
Maybe if we do 1 space less than what the ADA would require, so we can avoid that.
Well, we're still the envelope of Mechanic Street. We did approve that, and the number of parking spaces is variable. So we may have to eliminate 1 parking space anyway because of wetlands concern. We might have to eliminate more than 1. So we still need to confirm how many parking spaces would work there. So we can play with that number a little bit, but I think we may end up not having to worry about it because I'm not sure we'll have enough parking spaces for it to become an issue. And I don't know if anyone else on the commission has thoughts on this, but yeah, and whatever you've drafted up, Tony, I don't know if you wanted us to look at it tonight or if you want to send it around and have us check it out.
I was gonna quickly walk through the red line comments because I made a few more. It won't take very long, but
Okay.
If everyone is still with me, I'm
Yeah,
happy to
let-
pull it up. I don't know how
Yeah.
you guys do it. You're happy to know that I put myself on mute so you didn't hear some very mediocre guitar playing while I was waiting. But that kept me going. You mind if I try to share the screen for a minute?
Go right
Please go
ahead.
If I drop you, I'll be back.
Okay. It won't go anywhere.
Okay, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay. Just make sure I can scroll down. And I always get hung up on this. Hold on a second. Just need to get this to a point where I can scroll down. 1 second. Let me get it bigger. Now this here, maybe I can move this over here. Okay. Can you guys see everything?
Yes.
I see about half the page.
Let me see if I can move it over.
Or scroll it up or.
Let me scroll it down. Yeah, let me scroll down. I want to start at the top. I'm going to scroll down, okay?
All right. Let's,
So at the top, I just put draft and I just put the address for Mechanic Street and Fowler Street, which right now is nominally 0. And I put in your deed registry reference, okay?
okay.
And then here, the description was a little awkward, so I changed it a little bit and I conformed it to your deed. The way it read was parcels A and B. Your deed description says parcel A and parcel B. So I conformed it to the deed and then I just, clarified the reference to the plan.
Okay.
Okay, then this is just quotations around Steffens Farm, Open Space, and Robertson Family CR.
Okay.
Then let's just go down. There's not too much really, but I want to make sure you guys see it all. That was a extra historic and archaeological resource, and I capitalized "and" there. Okay.
Okay.
And here, I did notice here that, 1 second, this C has to be capital. Then that has to be capital, okay?
Okay.
Now here is what Marcella and I had talked about. I think we've clarified this. Indigenous people may conduct cultural land practices. Cultural land practices are defined for the purpose of this conservation restriction as including traditional, spiritual, and seasonal celebrations, offerings, cultural, educational, interpretive programming, and the harvesting of plant life for traditional cultural practices. Okay?
Yep, that certainly reads better to me.
Great,
So,
great. And down here, there's some spacing and formatting. Don't pay attention. I'll fix all that. Now here, I just put, it should be parking envelope 1 in quotes and parking envelope 2 in quotes. And here I try to address the paved apron. So we're not going to do Fowler Street, correct?
I don't think we need to unless the DPW requires it.
All right, so right now it says, except for paved aprons necessary for access to the parking areas from Fowler Street and Mechanic Street. Now I said here, this is awkward. I don't know if this is right, but only if required by local codes and regulations. Is it a code regulation issue? Or is it just DPW exercising their discretion to say they want it done?
That I can't answer. Bill, would you know?
I'm not sure that it's how it's referred to, but it's at the very least the DPW exercising its discretion and control over the roadways and rights of ways.
Why don't I just say, but only if required by the local DPW?
Sure.
Question, is it the DPW who requires it, or does Pat
Well,
Roach, the building?
Yeah, actually, if it's a code thing, then it's
Pat.
No, it's
yeah.
not Pat.
It's not Pat?
Nope.
Could that change?
Oh, absolutely.
So, DPW or, yeah, that's good. Much better, yeah, because who knows in the future.
With
Those just-
such paved aprons to be the minimum dimensions, I think this is important to make it clear we're minimizing the paved surface and the disruption.
Mhm.
To be the minimum dimensions necessary to comply with such requirements. How's that?
Sounds good.
Mhm.
Okay, except for paved aprons necessary for access to the parking areas from Fowler Street and Mechanic Street, but only if required by the local DPW or other local officials, with such paved aprons to be the minimum dimensions necessary to comply with such requirements.
That looks good to me.
Yeah, I would I would use Department of Public Works, not DPW.
Gonna make me type that all out. I knew somebody was gonna make me do it. Department of, that's correct though, I think.
Yep.
But only if required by the local Department of Public Works or, okay. Is everyone okay with that?
Are we locking ourselves into having the aprons be minimum dimensions? Because we may want it to be larger, and wider on Mechanic Street to allow for people to be driving in and out. I think that the current, requirements are really just, they're there to accommodate homeowners whose driveways are typically, one car width.
Right. So my only concern was to make it clear to whoever's reviewing this that we're doing our best to minimize the disruption. But it may not be an issue.
Well,
and-
it might still be minimized, but we shouldn't let the dimensions put out there by the DPW. I'd like to have the option to increase the dimensions outside of what the DPW.
Well, no, I think honestly, we're only doing what we need to do in order to ensure that how we connect to the road is what's best for the road. And so to the extent that we have it's not a driveway in the sense that it's intended for one-way traffic, but a entrance intended for two-way traffic. My guess is the Department of Public Works regulations or requirements are going to be different for that.
Okay, all I've seen is the dimensions that we had talked about earlier, which wouldn't be wide enough for two cars.
Right, but no,
But I get it.
yeah,
So
I think it's fine the way it is.
okay, yeah, all right.
Okay. And
But Tony, can you hold off for a second?
yes, sir. Let me go back.
For parking envelope 1, 2 questions. One is, do we want to stick with 3 or go to 2? And the other thing is, Marcella at the Land Stewardship Committee meeting mentioned a gate or possibly a boulder barrier. So we might want to insert and a gate or boulder barrier may be installed at the trail entrance.
Yeah, so on the it says a maximum of 3. I think you should keep it that way to give
Okay.
yourself
I'm fine with
flexibility.
that. I'm fine with that too.
And then installation of maintenance of each of 2 McDermott shall not be paved. No. And a
Gate or boulder barrier, if that's all right. Marcella, is that still okay with you?
Yeah, I think we talked about that with Dan as well. And I think he was okay with whatever we chose. Am I remembering that correctly?
I think that's right. I think that's right. The only concern with the boulder barrier, as I recall, was if you need to get vehicle access there for emergency purposes or otherwise, a gate would be better. And so,
Oh.
and he did talk about just putting in, a simple two posts and a chain type gate as opposed to a boulder. So I guess that would be my only issue, but
Well, let's leave the boulder in there just to give us that option. And, we may well go ahead and do a gate. We'll probably want to talk with the emergency folks who would need to get in there. And as I have pointed out before, you go in there a little bit and it's basically impassable with a vehicle. It looks like you can get in there quite far with a vehicle, but you really can't. So if I could get somebody, from the fire department to come take a look at it and tell me what they think, then we'll go with whatever they recommend.
Oh, okay. I don't think Dan's gonna have an issue with this, but I'll check with him. I think that should be fine.
Okay. I mean, if the boulders are cheap, but if, but I'm not wedded to one or the other. Putting up a chain and a couple of posts isn't expensive either.
Right,
So.
right. Okay. All right. Anything else on this before I move on? I don't want to rush it, except for paved aprons, but only by local dark or other local, if there's such being to be minute. Okay, and or boulder.
Or a
Okay.
boulder barrier.
Or boulder barrier. You're right. Boulder just kind of like, what are we doing? We're just throwing a boulder around, throwing boulders places.
Or
boulder.
Bill's very large boulder.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Or
I don't know if you heard
boulder
that
barrier.
conversation.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else?
I think that's good.
Okay, let me move on. There's an and.
Okay.
Bear with me. We're getting there. I just, the form that we have to submit to the state says we have to put a date on it eventually, so I just put when the baseline report was done, so I just put a space for the date. Okay?
Okay.
This is just formatting. I just clarified town vote as opposed to city vote on the CPA funds.
Mhm.
Here, I cleaned up the signature line. Put Sudbury Valley, indicating that the town of Upton through the Conservation Commission, I'm sorry, I just clarified that the Concom's conveying this to Sudbury Valley trustees. Then here, I think I got your names right.
Not mine, okay.
Alan's not quite right.
See, I knew I messed something up. Hold on a second.
Pull the L out of his last name.
Out of whose last name?
Oh, Alan Miano.
They're gonna revoke my Italian card for this.
Let's
keep this among-
Milano is a very wonderful city, and so that's great too.
Right. Let's keep this among ourselves, please.
It's also a pretty good cookie too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Okay.
mint ones are particularly tasty.
And then just the acceptance of the grant for our executive director here. Change that language and the notary. Here, I took out the approval because here we have a separate line for approval of the Upton Select Board. Ultimately, once this is all reviewed by the state, which, as Mike noted, could be some time. I changed that. I think I got everyone's names right. Did I get everyone's names right there?
I believe so.
so.
Okay. Here. I just, changed the approval to put the town in and Sudbury Valley trustees in. Fixed the notary. Now here, I described, this is Exhibit A, I described the premises. I took this verbatim from your deed. Okay?
Yep.
So I think that would be the best way to proceed. And then, of course, there's Exhibit B, which is the survey plan you've seen. And I sent you sent me and I sent you back the town vote authorizing these CPA funds. And then we went over Exhibit D.
Okay.
Okay. And so that's the, that's the CR. There is also a 1-page or 1 or 2-page application form. Can I share that with you? You guys still with me to have a few more minutes?
Go for it.
So let me stop sharing this one.
Don't stop sharing it yet, though. Just to bring it back to the issue of the Native American, the activities to take place there. I hadn't shared that language with anybody who might have a comment about it. And I was wondering, I feel good about what you've got here. I totally, I feel like it does protect the interests of the Native American community by specifying some of the activity. I don't know how they feel about it. So I don't know if, I don't want to belabor this issue, but I'm just, I wouldn't mind somebody taking a look at it and just confirming that that feels okay. But I'm just
So no, I appreciate your sensitivity to this issue. I mean, this is an important issue. The thing I'm concerned about, Marcella, I know you and I have talked about this, is that if you take 3 people in any setting and you ask them their opinion about something, you might get very different opinions.
Right.
I am a little concerned that we're just going to keep circling back to this. Someone may say this is fine. If you ask someone else, they may have a different opinion. I just want to say that I appreciate what you're doing. I think we went out of our way here to call this out and make sure that we're being sensitive to this issue and giving them the opportunity to do these things if they choose to. So right. I don't know. Keep that in mind. I think we worked pretty hard to get some good language here.
I know, and I feel like it does what we wanted to do, and and you're right. Anybody who looks at it is going to have an opinion. I'm just not of that community, so I feel awkward. Those of us who aren't part of the community are making decisions, even though whatever their opinions might be, and however they might differ. That's still not, I kind of feel awkward about.
Well, I do want to point out, Marcel, this language does reflect the opinions that you got back. I mean, there were some questions about, they felt offended at the ceremony. They wanted to take out the ceremonial uses. Someone was offended by the language concerning using, appropriate harvesting methods because they felt that they didn't need to be told how to harvest. They know better than we do. So I just want to point out that we have adjusted this language to try to accommodate those opinions and feelings.
And quite frankly, most of the language there is almost the same as language that was approved for the Kelly properties at Peppercorn. And so, that went through just fine. So personally, I feel okay. I don't know if anybody else has any other comments, but I don't want to just keep bringing, we could go on forever. So I don't want to do that. but
Okay.
personally I'm satisfied with the language, and if anybody else has any comments about it, I'm happy to hear that. But if you want to move on to the next document, go
Sure.
right ahead.
Sure. Again, if I mess this up, bear with me. Let's see if I can find it. No, it's the parking envelope. Give me 1 second. No, that's not it. All right, let me try to, it's not coming out. Let me try one more time, okay? Let me see if I can find it. I think this is going to be the parking envelope. So let me close that one out. Here it is. Can you guys see this?
Yep.
Okay. So this is a form we have to ultimately submit to the state along with the draft CR, all the exhibits, a copy of your deed, all the documents. And I want to show you a couple things just quickly. I have to list contact information. I'll put myself and my phone number. Mike, I elected you. I apologize to everyone.
I would elect Marcella.
Okay.
No, no.
I make a motion to elect Marcella.
Marcella denies any any connection.
All right, who's the victim then?
Who's it going to be?
I really, I don't know.
Look, if you want me to, hopefully I'm just going to be a name on a piece of paper and nobody's ever going to bother me. But I would prefer that my personal email address not be on there, that it be the town's, the land, like the town has a land stewardship email address, which I don't know what it is, but
All right.
Well, I have a thought here. What about Mary,
Yeah, you can use me.
our conservation administrator?
Sounds good.
So this is Upton to its conservation commission. Is this
Mary's our administrator.
okay?
So
I'm going to put here
we've been pestering her like this before. So
Mary. Well, I don't need to do it right now, but Mary, I'll add you.
Yep. And I think there's a generic Concom email that you can use, or you can use my work, the other one. They both.
I'll use your. Do you have a work email? I'll just use that.
Yeah, it's just moverholt.
Yep.
At uptonma.gov.
Okay, and I need a phone number.
Oh boy, the Concom office phone number is Chris. You must have it memorized.
That's what, you know what? I'll email you tomorrow. We don't need to worry about
Okay.
that. Let's just. Everyone's tired. I'm driving you crazy. Just bear with me. I want to make sure we're all on the same page with this stuff. I put the address here, and it says site project name. I don't know if you guys have a project name yet. It doesn't need to. If it doesn't need to be in. We don't have one yet.
yeah,
no.
maybe put to be determined, the matter of fact, in the next meeting.
Okay. Well,
I wanted people to start thinking about it.
and I want to talk
formal
about
name of this property will be. We haven't decided or discussed it yet.
Yep. Okay.
So,
all right. And then public access, yes. CR, yes. Forest management, yes. Has trails, yes. Falls within the zone 1 or zone A. I believe that's no, but I'll double check. Current structures. I don't think there are any structures, are there? Okay. It wants a very brief description of any future projects. I put enhanced public use, access and use by extending the existing trails and by creating parking areas shown on Exhibit D.
Okay.
Okay, then any.
Oh, one question: how are structures defined? Like there's an old stone well there. Is that?
I don't think that.
Okay, so you're
I
talking
think they're
about.
talking about buildings. I'll double
Okay.
check, but I think they're talking about barns, sheds, buildings.
Okay, yeah.
I'll double check. Is this an CR, an amendment to an existing CR? No. Is this associated with some form of permitting? No. And is there a recording deadline? Not that I'm aware of. You guys, there's no deadline here, right? Will baseline be prepared? Yes. And here's one I wanted to make sure I ran by you. Is there an easement? The only easement I saw were the power lines on the survey plan. I said no impact on conservation values. I think that's fair, but you guys are the experts. What do you think?
Does it make any difference if there is an impact?
I don't, you know, it's just asking for us to describe whether there is or not. I don't see the impact, but if you want me to
No.
say,
No, I would agree. I think it's fine.
is everyone okay with that? Okay. Does grantor have clear title? Yes. I'm asking really, but I think I know, but I'm asking. You guys have a deed, you have clear title to the property, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Require review by another Massachusetts agency, not that I know of. Unless you guys know something I don't.
That sounds-
CPA, I'm sorry, go ahead, Marcel.
No, I'm just confirming what you just said.
Okay. CPA fund 743, I think that's the right number.
I don't do numbers. Somebody else has to answer that.
Well, I added the two numbers off of your CPA vote. It was 3 something and 3 something, and it came out to 743.
I may have come up slightly different from that. I will get you the exact number.
Okay, great. And then the contribution from Sudbury Valley trustees and a local fundraising campaign are noted there, okay?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
So I think, and then here we just have to check some boxes, which I'll take care of, and I'll take care of once we're ready. I'll take care of submitting this all to the state, but obviously, Mary, you're going to be CC'd. If for some reason they want it to come from the town as opposed to Sudbury Valley trustees, all you'll have to do is resend it, but I'll prepare everything and get it ready. The question I have for you guys is, when is this ready? When do I have permission to submit this?
If it's ready to go.
Yeah, I make a motion that SVT be authorized to submit this CR to the CR for this project to the Division of Conservation Services for their review.
Second.
Voice vote. Chris, I.
Marcella, I.
Sandy,
Aye.
I.
David, I.
Mike, aye.
Tom, I.
Okay.
Terrific. I appreciate that. I appreciate your patience. If there are any minor typos or anything I need to fix, I mean, I'll fix them and I'll send them to Mary. And so she can confirm that that's fine, but I think I've gotten most of it. And you've seen all the exhibits, and I'll get everything packaged and ready to go. I'll check with Dan on those minor changes that we made. I'm sure he's fine with that. If there's an issue, I'll let you know. I would expect I could probably get everything together by early next week to get it sent over to DCS.
Excellent. Thank you very much for all the work and all the extra time you've taken to help.
Oh, no problem. My pleasure. Thank you guys for your patience, and I'll keep everybody posted, okay?
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to leave, guys. Have a good night.
All right, good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
So I've got a couple more things to report from land stewardship, but I'm not going to. So if let's move on to the other things and just we're already running way too late.
Okay. How about Mechanic Street 2024 trail grant application?
Oh,
You know, as I look at what's left on the agenda, I think the main things we would have to do are ratify the emergency cert for 12 Brasso and briefly talk about the budget And I think everything else can wait unless there's something from one of the boards that they wanted to do.
Okay, okay. So, we have the 9-15 Maple Ave, Rutland, and Hirschman.
Yeah, I think that can wait 2 weeks. I'll put it on for the next one.
Ratify EZ 12 Verso.
Yes, 12 Brasso. This is a beaver dam, and I'll pull up the picture here. I issued an emergency cert for them. And I think, okay, that's just the picture of the dam. I feel like I also have an overhead showing the showing where this is in town. Yeah.
Mary, is that only on their property?
Right. Well, here's the question. So here's 12 Brasso is right here. If you can see my cursor. And this is where the beaver dam is. And this piece of land is actually town land. But I decided that that beaver dam is 99% on their land. So I gave them the permission to breach it, but told them they'd have to pay for it. The only issue would be, this is Goss Pond Road. I don't think it's, the flooding has gotten up to there. It's encroaching on their, and their house is high. It's not going to get near their house at all, but she was concerned about trees along the edge here falling down.
So it's not doing any damage to her property?
Well,
the
yeah, I mean, it's certainly, if you look, I did look at the near map imagery for the past several years, and this is usually just kind of a shrub swamp marsh. Not usually, the water is certainly a lot higher, but no, I don't think it's doing that much damage. I don't think it can get much higher, but she was concerned about trees getting flooded out and being knocked down. And I wonder if she may end up deciding not to do it because of the cost of getting someone in there to do it.
So what are we deciding? We giving her permission to do it, or what? Giving a certification, or?
Well, I issued a certification. You can go ahead and say, I don't want to issue it if you want.
No, I just didn't
Yeah.
know what we were doing here. We're
Well, you're ratifying the emergency cert. that I issued.
ratifying. Okay. I
Right,
get
so
it.
but you can decide that you don't want to ratify it if you.
No, that's fine. If you did it, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I don't really see any reason to do this, so I would be opposed.
Yeah.
So should we take a voice vote? Been motion to ratify the emergency certification for 12 Verso.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Press the I.
Tom, I.
Alan,
Sandy,
I.
David, I.
Marcella, nay.
Mike, no.
It passes with the majority of the Conservation Commission voting.
I have a question or two about it. Did the Board of Health issue their part of it?
Yeah, I had her call the Board of Health, and yes, they were involved.
They in effect, on behalf of Mass Wildlife, determined that this was an imminent threat, which is what that means.
Uh-huh.
That's their role. And I'm just curious, do you know is Mike Moran trapping beavers in this location? Because I was told, I talked to the landowner as well at one point, and she said that she had talked to the Board of Health about this situation and that Mike might come by and trap the beavers. Do you know if he's doing that?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it's possible she didn't say anything about that.
All right, I was just curious, but yeah, no, if the Board of Health, that would be the first step, and apparently that box has been ticked because she did get basically the emergency certification from the Board of Health perspective. So, thank you.
You're welcome. So that passed with a majority of Conservation Commission voting in favor. And how about our FY25 budget?
Yeah, so it's just a little bit different this year. I'm not sure if you guys saw the email. It's been in the works to put everything, combine everything into a one department budget, just like now conservation is under land use and inspectional services. And it doesn't really mean a lot of change. We'll still have our $9,000 that's allocated, except for, so 1,600 of that was for office supplies. That little piece is going to be combined with, or that's the proposal, to combine it with office supplies for the whole department. My only comment on that is I looked back in the past few years to see how we've spent that money. We don't always spend all of it. And sometimes at the end, we buy other things with it. So that wouldn't fall under office supplies, like, I don't know, boardwalks or, wood or whatever for land stewardship projects. So that would be the only downside, is that I'm not sure that we would have that ability, but that's something I could talk over. Or maybe we would ask to transfer some of that into there's a land stewardship piece of that $9,000. Maybe we'd ask to just lower the office supplies. We didn't really use all of it. I know last year there were some initial things when I started up, we bought an auger and stuff like that. So that bumped it up. And I think also last year I was taking my mileage out of that number, but this year that's coming out of the bylaw account. So that's just kind of the overview on that.
Yeah, Mary, another couple things to think about is Nearmap subscription and the GIS yearly charge, whether that should be out of this administrative budget, no longer be part of our budget.
Yeah, that's a good question, especially since that follows up on the Nearmap user that we're going to talk about later. But yeah, maybe that would be a good point, that gets pulled from our budget and then we just, whatever. That would change things up a bit.
You'll probably have to put something in the budget to cover those things that we, need at the end of the year. Extra equipment or something, to phrase it some way. Because every year we need something.
Yeah.
It's not like we're just spending the money on,
I mean, we could argue that we're deferring those expenses until we know what we have at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So, which technically is true.
We'll probably learn to itemize our budget a little differently.
Yeah, and that's something I know. I think Amy, reviewing the code enforcement budget, she was kind of shocked that there was just basically one huge broad category and it wasn't broken down at all. I think if we wanted to break ours down more into more line items, that would be okay. And maybe give us a little bit more, control, or I don't know if we had a good idea. So that's supposedly the budget is due on the 22nd, which is shortly. But Amy thought last year we had an extension, and really the salaries that Amy's working through the numbers on that. We're getting a little bump up, and I think that just goes through. So it's mainly how we want to deal with that $9,000. And I do have I know Mike had brought it up, how the salaries come out of the WPA fund and the bylaw fund, because they have not been pulling from those funds. So I've been talking to Joe, and I think I need to arrange a call with Kenny on that. So,
You know, I may have missed it, but I was gonna mention when you showed the accounts, I didn't even see a Wetland Protection Act line there. Sorry, they've been good most of the day. Bylaw line item, but did I miss it? Was there one for the Wetland Protection Act fund?
here, I'll share the screen again. Yeah. Wetland Protection Fund is down here.
Thank you, I missed it.
Yeah, and then the bylaw fund is there. And see, so far this year, we haven't spent all that much out of the general expenses. Maybe we need to be pulling some of the stuff that's this land stewardship fund, maybe that needs to be coming out of general expenses, some of those things. And I believe this 3,000 might be the near map.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the amount. I just wanted, this is Bill, I had a question. The $1,600 that you were talking about is office supplies or office expense?
Yeah, let me
That's
just,
embedded in one of the other numbers.
yes, it's embedded in this $9,000. So here, if you look at this sheet, you can kind of see, maybe this doesn't show it very well. Let me look at last year's. I don't know if I can zoom in on this. So this is the total expense. At the top here, it shows kind of the line items. So here's our 9,000 balance. It gives 1,000 for land stewardship, 500 for open space, 5,900 it looks like for land maintenance, and then this 1,600 is like office mailings, blah blah blah. And that's where those numbers come from, and you can kind of see how we spent it last year. If you can read it, like we paid filing fees for natural heritage, office supplies, auger, magazine subscriptions. And then my mileage came out of that last year. And then land maintenance, we've got, anyhow, seed mix and all those things. So that's kind of how it's been broken out in the past. So maybe we want to rework that a little bit.
That needs to be done by December 22nd.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just I'll maybe look at the last few years and see what I can come up with as what's typical, and maybe beef up our because we typically at the end of the year spend something on supplies for whatever boardwalks or whatever. Maybe I just need to add to that land maintenance fund, just beef that up a little bit more.
You know, what you might want to do is just combine land maintenance and land stewardship.
Okay, that sounds like a good idea.
You know, and then have an maybe give open space a little more. But this one didn't look like, at least I can't read it, but then there'd be the MACC membership. Is it on here or?
That should, yeah, that should come out of here, yeah.
But it should come out of our administrative or something like that.
Yeah, I saw that on, I think that was on FY24.
If we were to pay somebody to do a baseline report, say at Mechanic Street, where would that come from? Or is that SVT's thing?
SVT is on the hook for the baseline report, but if they weren't, it could come from the Land Stewardship Revolving Fund, I would say, or the Land Stewardship Fund, or even the Conservation Fund, depending what people wanted to do. But they're on the hook. SVT's on the hook for the baseline.
Okay.
It's really late, but I think next meeting we should make a point of talking about, do we need to engineer that parking lot, and who's going to pay for it if we do, the Mechanic Street lot. So, but if we do, that those costs can come out of one of these funds if that's the decision.
Right.
All right, well, I'll try to put something together before the 22nd that makes a little bit more sense. And is the board, I think in general, I mean, this is kind of I don't know that you necessarily want to go against it, but this is a town manager recommendation that we combine the budget. I think it's more of I don't think I was talking with Amy, is it actually going to change anything on Kenny's side? We still have all the same account numbers. I think we might lose the one account number. No, I don't. No, I think we keep all our account numbers because the expense has just one account number. All those little subcategories are not account numbers. So I don't think it would change any account numbers on Kenny's end. It's just sort of trying to put it in a different basket. So
I think it's kind of short notice to do that kind of process. I think that you should ask them for a year. If we have to put everything together in a whole different way, we need a fiscal year to do it, I think.
I agree.
We can't do that at 10 o'clock. Something due the 22nd. We need to spend more than a few minutes at the end of a meeting if they want us to rearrange all of this. Which I don't think they're asking for, are they? They're just thinking about some new grouping to move forward.
Right. Well, I think in some ways it's logistics. I mean, who submits the budget? Do I submit it or does Amy submit it? She's got it all worked up. I haven't dealt with it at all. But, in the end, it is it's kind of Joe had suggested we go this way. It affects like Mike Antonellis, his salary was just under general salaries, but it's going to put all our salaries under one department. I don't know that it hugely matters. But for us to fix this small thing, yeah, maybe we can just ask, and I think this would be appropriate, that we want to keep our $16,000 separate for now and keep our $9,000 separate and give us a year to work that little detail out. And then the rest of it is just kind of salaries. I think we could do that. That would be appropriate.
Or a small change would be to take a quick look at what you use for actual office expenses and say, this is what we generally use, and let them, and put that with the umbrella group, the whatever group you have there.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. We could pull that out.
Just to pull that out and say, okay, this is what we usually spend on office supplies.
And then we'll put the rest under land stewardship.
And leave the rest the way it is. Because you don't buy many pencils and file thing.
No, it's well, the worst of it's postage, probably.
Right. And just pull that component out, and that'll be a start for them. They'll be happy.
Okay, that sounds like a good plan.
Well, that's what I would do.
Yeah, see what the board wants.
Works for me.
That the bulk of things for tonight.
I think everything else can wait.
Okay.
Okay, Chris.
Okay. Thank you. So Sandy, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Good night, everybody.